No fear at all. I remember that phase, like it could do anything, right? And there was success everywhere.
Mark, welcome to Rad-Ventures, the podcast that takes you on an exhilarating journey through the lives of business owners and entrepreneurs. As I understand it, you're an entrepreneur. How about you tell our listeners and watchers all about yourself?
Thank you, Radmin. Thank you so much for having me on the show. All about myself. Well, at the age of 27, I set up two businesses, kind of accidentally within the same year. And I scaled one of them to 250 people and the other one to 100 people, and was, after a few years, very much out of my depth. Since then, thankfully, amazing people like mentors, like Paul Brown, really good inspiration for me, came to my rescue and taught me how to actually run a business. And now I help other people scale their business.
Oh, nice. So, essentially, Mark, you're now a business coach, yeah?
Kind of mentor advisor with a bit of coaching. Yeah.
Nice. And so, when you were younger then, when you were at school, some people, I've been told that some people didn't have a careers advisor, which I distinctly remember going to speak with the careers advisor, and she said, what do you want to do? And then she kind of laid out the how to get there. So, if that happened to you, what did you tell her or tell the person you wanted to be? Did you tell him you wanted to be a mentor?
No, absolutely not. I don't think any teenager would ever say that they wanted to be a mentor because you have to have a bit of experience. But what's really interesting is I remember at school doing one of those like psychometric tests where it then tells you what careers you could be good at. And I kind of distinctly remember one of them coming up as a farmer, which actually now I think, wouldn't it be great to be a farmer, like work in the land, it'd be so physical and like so cool. But anyway, I kind of had that advisor sort of experience, and I went away and I thought, I want to be a policeman. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a policeman. So there we go.
Okay, I mean, I also had aspirations of being a policeman in my younger days. Presumably, you didn't make it to be a policeman then?
I didn't actually make it to be a policeman. What I did do, however, is a master's degree in criminology and criminal justice at Edinburgh University. I did really badly at school. I was not an academic person. My head of sixth form basically said to me, Mark, I just don't think you're cut out for going to university. And I think I got a D, an E, an N and a U. They were my results. U was ungraded and N is near.
Yeah.
I don't know why there was a distinction between an N and a U, but both sound like a fail to me. My dad also said to me, son, I think maybe you're better cut out for not going to university. But I was really, really, really keen to sort of have that experience. I wasn't too bothered about the studying. And because I didn't get great results, I ended up doing a course that wasn't criminology that I really wanted to do, because I didn't get the grades. And so I did a degree in community management at the University of Bedfordshire, and I came away with the first class.
Okay.
And what was really interesting to me is like I had that self-belief that like going to university was the right thing for me, for my experience, yet my dad, who I respected well, and the head of sixth form thought differently, but I knew inside there was kind of more potential. And what has come to light since is, doing GCSEs, doing A-levels, it's all about memory, it's all about memorising things. And I even now have a terrible memory. But when you go to university and it's all about like compare and contrast, especially like social sciences, and it's more of a conversation, I just excelled and enjoyed it. And then of course I completed my first class, got lots of confidence, and went, I'm now going to study my master's in criminology. No one's going to stop me from doing anything. So,
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I love it. And I too had it was AS level rather than A level, but I also had a U.
yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we
And
knew
then
you both.
yeah, and I was going to go to university to study criminology. Would you believe?
Really?
But I decided at the last minute. I just thought I didn't want to go. And I thought, like you, the I believe that the education system is taught to teach people it's there to make people think a certain way. And if you're not great at like you say, memory, which memory is not specifically a problem for me, but I didn't excel there. Let's say, I got average grades, but apart from at sixth form, obviously, where I got the U at the AS level. Well, actually, I think I got two. Yeah, two. Um, Chemistry and physics. Yeah. So, and actually, my chemistry teacher also said I had peaked academia. So, yeah, very similar stories there, Mark. Um, but never mind. We are where we are now, so we showed them. But so tell us then. So you go off and do your masters in criminology. So that would have been you would have finished that probably around 24, 25 ish, wouldn't you?
I think I took a year out from university, so I was about 23, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then at 27, you said earlier you started your business and they scaled quite quickly. So from university, what happened then?
Yeah, so when I graduated at university, I went travelling for 6 months. I went to New Zealand, Malaysia, and Thailand,
Lovely.
and had an absolutely amazing time. I travelled quite a lot in my life, been to more than 50 countries.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
when I was in my first year at university, I did Camp America. In my second year at university in the summer, I bought a camper van with the guy that I met, who I was sharing a room with in America, a Kiwi guy. Came over to London, bought a camper van, VW camper van called Growling Muffler, and we went around Europe for I think it was something like 15 weeks, 11,000 miles, lots of countries, lots of beer in lots of countries. Wonderful, wonderful experience. Like running with the bulls in Pamplona, going to all the islands in Greece, island hopping, and then finishing at the Munich Beer Festival, which was pretty epic. And then I kind of came back looking for work, and I was really fortunate. I managed to get interview psychometric tests with the civil service, the prison service, and also MI5 even. I remember doing a psychometric test for them, but I didn't get any of the jobs. I didn't get to the next stage. I remember the psychometric test for MI5 literally could have been in Chinese. I was just like, I have no idea what. It was almost like going back to the A-level economics and, and thinking I have no idea what that is. So I kind of walked out of there thinking I don't think I'm going to be a detective. I'm not going to be a James Bond. But so then I came across this. I was just kind of looking for a job, and I came across this advert in the Deco, outside of Deco on an A board, for fundraisers for Amnesty International, street fundraisers. And I went along to the group interview, and this was like 2000. And I remember like 18 of us were there, all young, graduates and stuff like that. And we all got the job. I was like,
Right.
clearly they don't know what they're doing because everybody's getting the job. And just through the sort of training day, the director of the company essentially said, "Look, Mark, I think you're a good leader. Will you team lead the team, sort of thing."
Mm.
Anyway, cut a long story short, I did that job for 3 months, running the first ever Amnesty Street team in Edinburgh. And as I was coming down for interviews in London, where the company was based, they basically brought me in and said, look, we want you to be the operations manager because we really like the way that you've been running the team in Edinburgh, and we want to really scale up.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I haven't got a job in criminology. I decided that police probably wasn't for me. So I said, yeah, why not? Moved down to London and basically started working for them.
Oh, nice. So how long did you work for them for?
So it was a company that kind of was like a private fundraising company that had clients, charity.
Okay, yeah.
And Amnesty was just one of them. They had like Red Cross and Barnardo's and Oxfam and organisations like that. So I worked for them for 2.5 years as their first operations manager, and I was kind of responsible for really growing the business operationally. So at the time I started, we had 7 teams of 6, and when I left 2.5 years later, there was 45 teams of 6. So,
oh, right.
And I really like put together the whole team for recruitment, selection, training, management, all logistics. Just built the team around me basically to deliver that scale.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I did it first. I scaled up first somebody else's business basically.
So, and then from there, then when you finished at 2.5 years, is that when you went into business yourself?
Yes, because and this is kind of an important story really in terms of the way I think. I believed that I had come up with this methodology of 1 manager to 10 teams, right?
Okay.
And then once I'd done that and run with it, I went, actually, this is not the right approach. We need to have 1 manager for 5 teams, because the turnover was getting too high and we weren't, really getting close enough to like who's the best characters and who's, what's the potential of people. Yeah. So I pitched to the directors to do that, and they said, look, don't think it's a good idea, we can't really afford it. And I went, I know this isn't the right way to do it. So I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
And I left and took 2 of my managers with me, and started off the business. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do you think then that your master's degree in criminology, which is not about it is about crime, but it's also about how people think, do you think that helped you then with leading these teams and with that operational role?
No.
I like it.
What?
Sounds like that. Shut you down, Richard. No.
I tell you what. How my masters benefited me was it giving me the permission and the time to really understand a particular subject very, very well. So I remember so we did like 3 subjects every term, across 3 terms, and then a dissertation. And so, if you think about it, studying 3 subjects for a few months, it's, you really get to read around all the books on that particular subject. And I remember one of them sticking in my mind, and it was how to police the police. And I was just so fascinated with this idea of like, who polices the police? And then writing a paper on that. And I wrote a paper, and other people were from like Cambridge and Oxford and Durham, and here I was in the University of Bedfordshire, and I got top results for that. Who polices? How to police the police. And so what my master did is it gives me the framework to apply what I was passionate about, and really be curious, around that. So I guess that curious nature is it was always in me, and it was just about putting it in the right space. And starting my own business, I was curious about how could I do this better than the companies that were currently doing it.
Yeah, nice. And that's a nice segue into your first business with your 2 managers. So this is the one that you scaled to 250, is that right?
Interestingly not, because it took me a whole year to find a client after I left.
Ah, okay.
No one really wanted to sort of back me because I didn't have any client contact
Yeah.
when I was operationally focused. Um, Everything was all internal focus. And so yeah, it took me a whole year of sleeping on my friend Caro's sofa in his one bedroom flat, um, till we actually found a client who said, yeah, you know, we're going to give you a bit of budget to get off the ground. And so in that year, through our sort of desperation, about 6 months in, one of my previous business partners saw a company in Sydney called 3 Minute Angels, and they were giving people head and shoulder massages in the bar that he was in.
Hmm.
And he had to pay them what he thought it was worth after the massage. And he came back all excited from Sydney saying, this is an amazing concept, we should do this in London. And after about 6 weeks, we went, okay, let's sit down and work out if we can do this. And we sat in a pub in London Bridge with a blank piece of paper, and we wrote down how we would do it: recruitment, selection, training, management, logistics. Very much similar formula to the fundraising, but massage.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine was masseuse, so I said to her, could you design like a massage? We called the company Urban Chill. We called the massage the chill. We called the masseuses chillers. And we basically got a team in Camden and a team in Old Street, negotiated with some bars, trained them up, and went out there. And I remember being in Camden in a bar, and this girl who obviously we trained up went up to this guy, said, you know, would you like a massage? Pay what you think it's worth. Gave him a massage. He pulls out a tenner, and I just thought, shit, we're onto something here.
Right.
And that company went from 0 to 250 people in about 2.5 years. It was just flying. And 6 months into that beginning, a charity came back to us and said, we want you to start. And we were like, should we do it? Should we not? Because we've got this other thing going. And so we decided to actually do both.
Okay.
Yeah, so very interesting. No one would normally choose to do that, right?
Yeah, no, it's like the buses thing, isn't it? It's like you get nothing for ages, and then all of a sudden two come at once. But you know the challenges are there to expand your horizons, and obviously it has. So is Urban Chiller still going then?
No, so we lost that business in the 2008-9 crash
Oh yeah,
because we actually grew that business from being in the bars to festivals, exhibitions like the Ideal Home Show, and then going into offices, and it became more of an office business than a bar business, and which was more lucrative. We started a bit of a franchise in Brighton. We were test casing that. If that went well, we were going to go national, potentially international, with a franchise model. And then the 2008-9 crash came along and took the wind out of our sails. And as quickly as we had gone up, basically our contracts were terminated. You know, we're going to have to cut costs, and it was very, very painful. We held on to the business for restructured it financially, CVA and all that sort of stuff for a couple of years, but actually it was quite a deep recession, wasn't really going anywhere, and so we liquidated.
Oh, sorry to hear that. It does sound like a great idea. Maybe you should restart. Um,
Well, it's funny you should say that, because Tom, my business partner, has said that he really would be keen to start it, and I can't quite. It was like my first baby, you know. I just feel like I can't quite mentally do it again.
Yeah, I understand. I remember one of my colleagues once saying to me when I worked in a inbound sales office, they'd worked at 118 as in a call center. Two of them actually worked in the same business that I was working at the same time. They'd come up from Plymouth to Poole, so it's really weird. They knew each other, but they said that people, when they were on the phones all day, sat at desk, they used to get in-house massagers coming round. So yeah, I think the business would be there, especially in in offices where you get the rows and rows of people. In
Yeah,
fact, I
we
do
do
know of one.
trading.
I do know of one in Poole. So
Do Yeah, we do. We did. I remember doing trading floors. So people were doing the trading, and we were giving them massages while they were working.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It was. It was. It was. The time was kind of perfect, and then obviously global recession took us down.
yeah, a lot to answer for those that group that caused that. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I must fact check it beforehand. Um, uh, American Stock Exchange, wasn't it?
The
That ultimately
Bearings or
caused that.
something, wasn't it? Yeah, Bearings Bank or something.
Yeah. Cool. So so obviously, unfortunately, lost that one, which I'm sorry to hear about. But what about the other one? The fundraising one.
Fundraising. Yes, that was called Urban Leaf. So one was Urban Leaf, one was Urban Chill.
Yeah.
And we ran that successfully. We scaled it to about 100 people. And at the point at which we had 350 people working for us and, lots of, offices and all that sort of stuff, I recognised that me and my business partners were out of our depth. We had taken the business to the limit, and we didn't, really we were winging it, right? Which is probably one of the reasons why it was successful, because we didn't know any different. We were like, yeah, let's do this. Let's hire that person. Let's go after this client. That sort of thing. Really, with no fear at all. I remember that phase, like zero fear, no, like could do anything, right? And I think ego and like fearless, basically. I felt like we were almost at the edge of burnout. There was success everywhere, yet success was just like more work and more headache. And so we reached out to my network, and as I said earlier on, we were introduced to a guy called Paul Brown, who was sort of an accountant by trade, who was running somebody else's bars and a nightclub in London. They were called the Elusive Camels, 4 bars and a nightclub. And he was doing it remotely. Like, he didn't have an office, he didn't frequent the bars that much. He was just doing it remotely. And I had a few sort of sessions with him where he was kind of mentoring me informally. And I said to him, look, do you want to just come in and like spend a bit of time with us and help us? Anyway, cut a long story short, he ended up becoming a business partner for a few years and really driving our sort of change of perspective from like winging it with no roadmap or principles or strategy to actually having a strategy for every element of our business. And he really taught us, Tom and I would say now, he was our best teacher we've ever had in our life. He taught us how to run a business properly with proper principles. And then we were able to navigate the loss of Urban Chill, keep pushing on with Urban Leaf, and we ran that business successfully till COVID took that business down. Another global crisis. We ran it as it was a very tight margin. Obviously, we were raising money for charities. We weren't in it for the money, we were in it for the purpose. We had fantastic people working for us. Interestingly, going back to that story of like one manager for 5 teams, in the end, we recognised one manager for 2 teams was the optimum. So we went from 5 to 2. If you really want to get the best out of people, you need to have one manager for 10 or 12 people.
Oh, okay.
Methodology. And COVID came, and we had 75 people working for us, leaned into the furlough scheme. And at the end of the furlough scheme, as with a lot of industries, half of our staff decided, do you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And for us, finding staff was like for most businesses finding clients. It was really hard to do. It took us about a month to find a great person. And to lose that many people in such a short, overnight almost, when the plug got pulled from the furlough scheme, we were losing 10 grand a week, and we knew we had like 4 months left of cash, and even then that was cash borrowed essentially from from the government, because obviously the furlough scheme and all the tax implications, they kind of were a lot more lenient than normal. And we took the kitchen sink at recruitment to try and find fundraisers, and in the end run out of cash. So that was January 22.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, COVID's a lot to answer for, and it's been quite a theme on based on COVID throughout the podcast episodes I've done so far, because it affected all of us. Myself, I was employed at the time with my side hustle in inverted commas, and so we just thought we got through it. We were going on to semi furlough, so we were going to do like 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, and then the boss just out of nowhere closing the business up. Government statutory redundancy pay. Sorry about that, lads. 5 weeks before Christmas. So, and then one of my guests was a reflexologist. So obviously you couldn't touch people at the time. In fact, she was classed they classed them in the same band as sex workers. Was what she was telling us in the episode.
Wow.
So yeah, it was obviously an awful time. But we obviously don't want to get into the politics of the mismanagement of that from the former government. All right, Paul. Mark, sorry, I don't know where I got Paul from. I'll have to delete that bit out. I think it's probably because you look a bit like my cousin. Tell us about what you do now, then.
So when we obviously lost the company, took us a few months to actually support people on the government scheme. There was administrators came in, giving them all the information that they needed. That took a few months. We then took a little bit of time off and brushed ourselves off and said, right, what do we want to do? What are we passionate about? And we're really both very, very passionate about helping people become the best versions of themselves. And if we think about the work that we loved doing at Urban Leaf, it was about all of our regional managers sort of having the autonomy and being their own bosses of their own regions, but like giving them a framework for decision making. And so we sort of said, well, why don't we try and do that, but instead of internally we do it externally. So as mentors and advisors, we find clients who are scaling up their business, got those pain points that we've been through multiple times, and actually teach them the principles that we learned and put into practice, very effectively. That helped us scale and have a company to be proud of.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
So that's what we've been doing. I would say just over 18 months. And the first 9 months we were just working with one client. We actually did a similar thing to what you're doing now, but we didn't put it out as a podcast. We just put it out as a transcript, where we interviewed as a launch. We interviewed 50 leaders from different industries in 50 days. Which was an amazing experience, and if we could do that again, it's so rich and rewarding to speak to different people with all different backgrounds. And the 47th interview said, "I'm scaling up my business in Dubai. Can you come and help me?" And we were like, "Yeah, we're available." And for 9 months, we worked exclusively with that client, helping him scale up from like 40 odd people to 90 odd people.
Nice.
In a very quick period. And then I would say since the beginning of this year, we're now kind of focusing on building our client portfolio. So
yeah, that's really cool. I like it. I love it, and I love the fact that you want to help people rather than and use all your experience rather than cash in on it, as it were. That is a fantastic ethos. All right, let's move on to our quickfire questions that, in our experience, aren't very quick. So the quickfire was just a kind of, let's break it up. It was 6 quick questions to learn a bit more about Mark. But what I found since I've been doing this is that actually someone says a really good answer and we can kind of deep dive into it, and then we talk about that for a little bit. So, all right, question one. We know that you're 21, Mark, but what's your favourite age been so far?
So, Paul taught us many things, but probably the most significant thing he taught us was how to work on our business, not in it. Right? Which effectively meant hiring people who could run the business better than us, and then be kind of like the external kind of directors. In doing so, that allowed us to work, which we did for 10 years, 3 days a week. And so I would say my favourite age was when I was 38, 10 years ago, when we worked 3 days a week, and I decided to, with my ex-wife now, but wife at the time, and 2 young kids, to move to Ibiza. And I lived in Ibiza for a year. That was an amazing year, and I commuted into London for 2 days, worked from home 1 day, and had 4 days with the family. That was my favourite year, and even now I dream of like working a week abroad and a week in London, you know?
Yeah, that sounds really good. And 38 was a good age. Might be a certain host's age currently.
any plans to move abroad?
No, not presently. But it would like you say, I have aspirations, and my role as a freelance administrator, obviously, all I need is a laptop, an internet connection, and a mobile phone, essentially. So in theory, I could work from anywhere. But I've got a young daughter and a partner, and so the logistics of it, realistically, what with the daughter having to go to school, etc.
Yeah.
It's not the present time, but she's not too far. She's only a few years off 18, so out the door then, and then the world could be mine and my partner's oyster.
I love that. Definitely.
Of course, I'll be there to support her for her whole entire life. She's not out the door at 18. Just a caveat in case someone listens to this, namely her. Okay, question 2. What's your favourite quote? This could be a movie quote, a meme quote, a motivational quote, or any other quote you can think of.
So I have a quote that is on my computer screen. I've got it in my hands here, so I'm going to read it to you. And it says, "The best marketing strategy in the world is the results we get our clients." And I just really love, and I've always loved, focusing very kind of obsessively with what the client's needs are. Because I think it's so easy to get wrapped up in the company's needs, whether it's financial or otherwise, the manager's need, the team's needs. But actually I think, and obviously they're all important, but I believe that success is driven by making sure the client is very happy with what it is that they're getting,
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Question number 3. Google Suite or Microsoft 365?
Both.
Yeah.
I use both. I've got a PC here, but I travel with a 12-year-old MacBook Pro, which is like a brick.
Yeah, they're MacBooks do go on though a bit, don't they? The PC, 5 years kind of shelf life-ish if you're lucky. The MacBook, like you say, 12 years. It's big and cumbersome, but I bet it still runs quite well.
It's incredible, and when people who understand technology see it, they go, "That is the most reliable MacBook Pro they ever made," and I'm like,
yeah.
It fires up in 45 seconds, whereas this desktop, Hewlett-Packard desktop, takes me 15 minutes. I've got to get up in the morning, switch my computer on, and then come back after my tea.
Yeah. Okay, look. So, question 4, very hypothetical, but if you're stuck on a desert island, what app could you not live without?
Which?
Application.
Oh,
Could be a
okay.
productivity app. It could be a entertainment app.
Oh, that's a good question. Good question. Which app? Ibiza Global Radio. The app for the music.
Yeah,
The soundtrack of my life.
I like it.
Balearic beats in the background.
Yeah, I think mine would be a music. I'm a big fan of Spotify, and I think if I was stuck on a desert island, the one thing I'd probably want would be some music to distract me from my, potentially dire situation. Um, okay, doke. Number 5, name and shame time. How many unread emails do you have on your phone right now?
None.
All read, yeah? Nice, I like it. What we tend to find on the show when we ask this question is that business emails completely and utterly dealt with. Personal emails, there's usually, somewhere between a couple of hundred and a couple of thousand on there.
I know my girlfriend's 10,000 or something ridiculous.
That's an impressive number.
But I'm very organised in that sense.
I like it. Cool. Number 6. So, if money's no object, you can afford any car. You don't worry about the running of it or anything like that. What car are you having?
A Porsche 911.
I like it.
A red one.
In red.
Yeah, but like an older version,
Yeah. Like a 98 plate, something like that.
Something like that, exactly. Oh
Yeah,
my God,
I like it.
So sexy.
Yeah, they're nice. I live in Weymouth, and every year we get Porsches on the prom. It's the UK Porsche clubs, and so they literally line up on Weymouth Esplanade. And I went down there this year to take some photos for a client, and it was like a mile long, just filled with them. All, they're all ranging from 1960s Porsches to the latest and greatest model that there is now.
Incredible.
I love it, and this is what this question was designed for, Mark, is people that enjoy, a mid to late 90s sports car. So sometimes I get people give it the old, I'm not really into cars. I'm like, oh.
Shouldn't have asked you to be a guest.
That's it. Well, you never know. Season 2, or we might change the question. Like what material possession would you have if you could? Something like that. All right then, Paul, Mark. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Paul. I'm going to have to really edit this out.
I don't think you should edit it. I think you should keep it in.
No, my missus will be screaming at me when she watches it. Right, Mark. Okay, so we know what you do now, obviously, and I'm quite sure I probably know the answer to this question already. But if you could do anything, what would you do when you grow up?
Well, I'd like to be a non-executive director on a number of boards.
I like it.
Yeah, that's what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah, I nearly mentioned non-exec directors earlier. I don't know what it was. I like it. I think I'd like to be the same.
Yeah, I've done it a couple of times. I've been a non-exec director a couple of times, and I love the idea of kind of like being able to impart wisdom, look at the bigger picture, but also not be responsible for cash flow and getting clients.
Yeah.
It's about a little bit about me and a little bit about what I can support them with.
Yeah, and that really is on the business instead of in the business, isn't it? Non-exec direct.
Yeah, exactly. Using the network, opening up doors by using the network.
Yeah, cool. I like it. Right, Mark, I know that you've got an appointment coming up soon, and we've still got to get the upload for this. So tell everyone where they can find you.
So you can find me physically at Homegrown Private Members Club in London, which I'm a member, and we can meet there, and I do all my client meetings there. And online you can find me at www.aprincipledapproach.com.
Perfect. And you spend a bit of time on LinkedIn, don't you?
LinkedIn as well, yes.
So that's Mark Nesbitt on LinkedIn.
Mark Nesbitt on LinkedIn, yeah.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show, Mark. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. It's a mutual acquaintance that set us up, and so I do want to speak to you again to get to know you better, which would be fantastic if you're up for it.
For sure. Thanks,
But
Radmin.
otherwise, thank you for coming on the show. And if you want to know a bit more about Mark, do check out those links. I'll put everything in the show notes or in the description. So thanks very much for listening. I'll be back next week. Peace out. Thanks for joining us on Rad-Ventures. Don't forget to subscribe via your favourite platform. Always happy to chat, so hit me up in the DMs. And I'll see you on the next Rad-Venture.